Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling a topic that's probably on everyone's mind. How much money do you really need to retire? Retirement reality check. How much can you actually spend? We're going to be breaking down how much you can realistically spend each year based on different portfolio sizes. Are you sitting on $200K? Maybe you're closer to $400K, $1 million, or even $2 million. Stick around because we're covering it all. Now, how much you can spend depends on a bunch of factors. It's not just about having a big pile of cash. Knowing your spending potential is crucial for planning your dream retirement. And if you're just starting your savings journey, this video is like a roadmap, giving you clear goals of what you can work towards. We'll start with a $250,000 portfolio and work our way up. For each level, I'll give you a critical takeaway to keep in mind. Let's dive in. Okay, $250,000. Now, according to a 2022 survey, the average retirement savings for families is actually closer to $350,900. So many of you might be around that $250,000 mark, and that's totally okay. While it's not a massive amount, you might be surprised at what you can still do. Now, with $250,000, we're going to make a few assumptions. First, we're going to assume you probably need all of this money, which means you're likely focused on enjoying your retirement rather than leaving a big inheritance. And ideally, we want to comfortably spend all the funds by the time retirement concludes. And two, we are also going to assume you'll be receiving some Social Security or other type of pension income, in addition to your portfolio savings. Now, we're going to aim for a long retirement, around 30 years, even if the average life expectancy isn't quite that long. Think of it as living it up. So let's say you're retiring in the U.S., and you'll be getting an average Social Security payment of around $1,307 a month. Let's do some quick math. Let's say you're also being ambitious and withdrawing a significant amount each year from your portfolio while also receiving that Social Security. We're talking around $41,700 a year. That's not bad for a $250,000 portfolio, right? It assumes you're getting a steady 7% return on your investments every year, and the market doesn't always work like that. Some years you might do great, and others you might dip. You need to be smart about how you're spending, especially if your return is low for any given year. However, I just wanted to show you that it is definitely possible to have a retirement with $250,000 if you manage it correctly and are willing to be a bit more aggressive with your spending rate. But what about the classic 4% rule, you ask? Well, sticking with the 4% rule, we're looking at around $10,000 a year from your portfolio, which is on the lower end, but add in that Social Security, and you're realistically looking at $32,000, $33,000 in terms of income per year, which is not too shabby. Now, here is the main takeaway for those of you at the $250,000 level. You can make it work, but you need to plan more strategically than someone who has a much larger amount of money, and you also have to be comfortable with taking on a little bit more risk. Things like taxes and inflation will impact the final amount of income you can expect to have, so this is something to definitely consider when planning your own financial journey. All right, let's move on up to the $500,000 mark. So at $500,000, you're getting a bit more breathing room than at $250,000. You still need to be smart, especially about things like market ups and downs and unexpected health costs, but this is an amount that allows you to be a little more flexible. And maybe you're hoping to leave something for your kids. We'll start diving into those topics in this section. So there you have it, a breakdown of how much you can expect to spend with different retirement portfolio sizes. Earlier, we talked about what you could do with a $250,000 portfolio. And honestly, it's a bit tight. It can feel like you're walking a financial tightrope, always needing to be super careful with your spending. But let's crank things up a notch. Let's say you've managed to build a $500,000 portfolio. That's a really big deal. If you stick with the classic 4% rule, and we'll talk more about that in a bit, that means you could withdraw about $20,000 a year after taxes. That's double what we were talking about before. Now let's throw in Social Security. On average, that could add around $22,880 per year on the low end. Suddenly, you're looking at a total of about $42,882 a year. Not bad, right? And here's a little bonus tip. If you were to spend all of those funds down by the 30-year mark, you can actually spend closer to $26,541 per year. That can make a huge difference. But we need to be smart about how we manage our withdrawals. This is where dynamic spending comes in. Think of it like riding a wave. When the stock market is doing awesome, say, up 10%, you can afford to spend a little more, maybe take that extra trip. But when the market dips, maybe down 10%, you should tighten your belt a little and spend less. In fact, Vanguard did a super interesting study about this. They found that with a $1 million portfolio, if you have a plus under 10% year, you could withdraw about $44,000. But in a 10% year, you should take out about $39,500. This difference means that when the market is down, you're actually taking out $600 less, and that helps your portfolio rebound when the market is positive. When the market is up, you can take $2,000 more and still have a healthy portfolio balance. A good rule of thumb, though, is the 80% rule. This means that you should plan to spend 80% of what you are making on an annual basis before retirement. If you were making $100,000 per year, aim to spend about $80,000 per year. But this rule varies a lot depending on how much you make. For example, if you make under $50,000 per year, the 80% rule works really well. But if you make over $150,000 per year, you can probably live off of a smaller percentage of your salary. All right, let's talk about the big one, the $1 million portfolio. At this level, things get exciting. The 4% rule gives you around $40,000 a year before Social Security or any other pension plans. This is a place where you should be thinking about those soft factors. Are you going to want a new car every 4 to 5 years? Travel is on the agenda. Healthcare costs will become more significant as you get older. For example, if you wanted 3 trips a year at $5,000 per trip, that's an added $15,000 a year into your expenses. You need to factor in those things, and the 80% rule will be helpful for most people. There is no right answer. You just have to know how much you're going to spend year after year. But the great news is that if you know what to realistically expect, you can really begin planning accordingly. Let's imagine someone with a $1 million retirement portfolio. Now, they're not going wild. They're spending about $60,000 a year for everything, including travel, maybe a new car, the fun stuff. And let's say they're receiving average Social Security payments, plus they're paying about 10% in taxes on their 401k withdrawals. It's simplified for this example, I know. Now, there's a formula to figure this all out, but trust me, it gets a little mathy. If person is withdrawing 4% or $40,000 from their portfolio every year. But check this out. At the end of year 1, their portfolio grows to over $1,025,000. Why? Because we're assuming the portfolio is growing at a rate of 7%. That's right. It's like your money making money for you. The cool part is, even with those withdrawals and taxes, they're still bringing in the income they need for retirement each year. And, get this, by year 30, this person has over $2.4 million. This shows that with a low withdrawal rate and with your portfolio growing consistently, you're not even close to running out of money. Now, this is important. This example assumes no major stock market swings. We need a plan to handle the ups and downs, like a dynamic spending rule. But it does show you how solid a $1 million portfolio can be, especially if you're mindful of your spending and you have Social Security. Big difference, right? This person runs out of money by year 28. And remember, we're still not factoring in market volatility. It just goes to show you how powerful that extra income stream is. It bridges the gap between your withdrawals and your expenses. So, with a $1 million portfolio, you could comfortably spend anywhere between $40,000 to even $70,000 a year, especially if you have Social Security. If you feel like getting a little more aggressive, you may be able to spend 80 to 90K a year. But hey, most people like to play it safe when it comes to retirement. Speaking of bigger numbers, let's talk about $2 million. Okay, if you're rocking a $2 million retirement balance, let's be honest, you're doing pretty well. With the 4% rule, you could be spending $80,000 a year and not really have to worry too much at all. And that's before you even consider the additional income. The cool thing is, at this level, your portfolio just starts to grow and grow, even when you're taking out a substantial amount each year. A good rule of thumb is to have a mix of stocks and bonds. A 50-50 asset split is often considered the safest bet for the long haul, even if the stock market gets a little crazy. Now, building a $2 million portfolio can feel like a big task, but it all comes down to consistently saving and investing over time. If you're just starting out, the key is to contribute as much as you can to tax-advantaged accounts like your IRA, your 401k, or even Roth accounts if available. By maxing out employer matches and taking advantage of tax advantages, you're really setting yourself up for success. Let's say you start investing in your 30s, making $80K per year. If you can save 15 to 20% of your income, you may be able to end up with that $2 million dream portfolio. And that's even assuming a 7% S&P 500 return. Now, if you're starting a little later, say in your 40s, you'll need to increase your contributions to catch up. For example, if you are in your 40s making $150,000 per year, but committing 35% of that amount every year, you may be able to hit that $2 million goal. And that's actually a pretty high savings rate. But hey, that's how you reach those big goals. Let's talk hypothetically for a second. Imagine you're consistently saving, and you're getting a reasonable 7% return on your investments, which, by the way, is definitely achievable with a diversified portfolio. If you stick with it, you could potentially end up with around $4.8 million by the time you retire. Yeah, you heard that right. $4.8 million. Now, I think we can all agree that's not too shabby, right? I mean, that's like a dream car, a dream home, and still leaving some behind for the next gen. Now, what if you're thinking, okay, that sounds amazing, but I'm 45 years old. Is it too late for me? Absolutely not. The beauty of this is you can still catch up. It might not be the full $4.8 million, but if you're willing to commit to saving a larger percentage of your income now, you'll be amazed at how far it can take you. Think of it like this. A small stream can become a river with enough time and effort. Maybe you're used to saving 5%. Challenge yourself to try 10% or 15% or 20%. It might mean cutting back a little on those takeout coffees or that new video game, but in the long run, it's going to pay off massively. I'm talking about future you being able to travel, spend time with family, and just enjoy life without money worries. Ultimately, the goal isn't about hitting some arbitrary number like $2 million or even $4.8 million. It's about having a strategy that's right for you. It's about creating a comfortable retirement where your money grows and lasts for the long haul. And you know what? You can do that with a variety of portfolio sizes. It's about being smart and realistic with your plan. So don't let some number scare you. Let it motivate you. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below if you have any questions. See you in the next video.